All right, excited to come back home after a road trip and play in front of our crowd. So, got a lot of work to do this week, a lot of things to clean up. Penalties, red zone, pass defense. And this team's really good that we're playing. Clay does a great job. You know, these guys went into Nebraska and won a couple years ago. And so we've got to continue to improve and get better and clean things up. Like I've said after the game, there's a lot of positives to know that, can have a 34-point road win against an ACC team and not play up to our standards and leave a lot of points out there. So, like I told him today, it's a good and bad thing. It depends on what you make of it. It's really good if you change those things, take care of the ball better, make better decisions, then you can be a really special team. Or it's a bad thing that you're that talented, and then if you ignore these things as the teams get better, these will come back to haunt you.
Lane, I know you and Clay go back a ways. What's the relationship like with him?
Clay's awesome, one of the finest people I've ever met, been around, a wonderful human being, great wife Angela, and I was telling the story because they were asking the staff about how'd you first come about Clay, and it's another one of, my dad's things where he just had a way of finding really good coaches and things, and I didn't know anything about him, who he was, and we were at USC and we're looking for a quarterback coach, and he's like, you need to interview this Clay Helton, because the year before we'd been at Tennessee and Clay would have been at Memphis, and they did a really good job on offense. I believe that's where he was, and did some really good scheme stuff against my dad and us at Tennessee on defense. And so he said, you need to interview this guy, and he was at Arkansas State, sleeping on his office couch at the time. He'd just taken a job there, and interviewed him, and was just really impressed, and really good coach, great person.
Lane, kind of echoing what you told us Saturday night when we talked to Dart and a couple other players, I think Dart even said the ugliest 600-yard game that could ever be played. Does it feel like where y'all are trying to get the chemistry and the mindset of this team is there when they're saying that same thing after a game like that?
Yeah, I saw some players said that. Obviously, I felt that, but for the players to say that, I think says a lot. It says a lot about where our program is, how we think, where it was before we got here, when we first got here, and now that, and encourage our fans, like I said at the beginning of the year, enjoy what's going on, because there's certain days where, you wouldn't have been finding issues with 34-point, road ACC wins. You'd just be happy to win. I think, that coach in there, they were 4-0 against SEC teams coming into that game. So it just shows a good standard of the expectations of how to play, and then their internal expectations of, the process and not just the outcome of the game, but playing really well, because you're going to need to as the opponents improve.
Could you give us any insight or elaborate a little bit on what's going on with Ulysses Bentley? Is not playing any more than he is when we were anticipating more playing time from him?
Yeah, that's nothing negative about Bentley. I think that, there's some of that in our program. We have a really good roster, and I've told our players, there's cost and benefit to everything. And there's a huge benefit to having all these good players. Got a chance to be really good. The cost is everybody doesn't get to play as much as they like, and that's happening all over the place. I should say, but that's happened with a number of our players. And so this is not anything Bentley's done. The other two guys have played extremely well. Bentley missed time in the spring, and we have great confidence in him. And just in that game, it's kind of pass heavy, and we really were just going. It really hadn't gone to the third back, which right now he is. So that's why it was. And the good thing is when you have to make those hard decisions like that, and a veteran player isn't playing as much as they like, at least we're playing really well. The problem is when you don't, and then you're struggling, and the guys on the bench going, well, we ain't even scoring, or on defense, we're giving up a bunch of points, and the guy's not playing. So it's kind of hard to argue right now when, the other two are doing what they're doing, especially Henry.
Coach, Key Lawrence was a big, maybe even been a starter in camp, and he got injured, and I think he's back. Do you really miss him back there in the secondary?
Well, I think the guys are doing a good job back there. He has missed a number of times with injury, had a concussion, just got back. And again, that's, one of those things too. Sometimes, when you've missed time and you're not able to, have all those reps and everything, sometimes you're at a disadvantage. And so, anticipating playing really well on special teams. He played 10 snaps on special teams and getting back in the flow on defense.
How have you seen kind of Bentley, I guess, embrace his new role?
He's done a good job, played some special teams, and I feel for the players when it happens. It happens all the time in the NFL. He's done a good job, and that's not easy to do.
And after looking at the film, what do you think of the impact of Jaquan Scott at right guard, and what do you think of the offensive line as a whole?
Well, Quan is coming back from an injury, so he probably didn't play 100%, but you still saw his strength in there and how good he can be. And really, that was his first week back practicing, and so we rotated in there some, and we'll just keep, finding the best mixture of guys. And as you see, we're also, not just playing five. We're treating it more like some other positions and rotating guys through.
Do you anticipate Jaquan playing any center moving forward?
Yes, I do. Again, we're in the mixture of figuring that out, and we've had some injuries in there with 3 inside guys being out. So we're just trying to figure out the best rotation in there. And last week, being his first week back, we played him at guard, so his first time back wasn't on the road playing center in his position that, he played a lot more reps at, was guard.
When you talk about the secondary needing to pick it up a little bit, one of your concerns earlier, is that more safety talk or corner talk?
Well, I think that really was more safety, that really pass coverage, and the penalties, just too many times we're grabbing guys and, are getting beaten coverage in there. So, something they got to work on. Like I told them, once you put something on tape, and one guy has all those penalties, they're going to target you. So you better improve.
I know this is a next year thing, but with Wake off the schedule now, you guys don't have a Power 4 or whatever we're calling it. These days you got to add one. Is there any progress in that process?
No, obviously we got a lot of stuff going, really a very abnormal thing for Wake to do. So I put it in neutral words. You usually don't do that a year, in the season before. It's hard. There's not people to play. So it's why you do scheduling in advance and you make deals and you go and play there and they come back. And so, that was really not something, I would just say that's rarely ever done. I've never really heard of doing it, and it really puts us at a big disadvantage. And is what it is. Obviously wasn't appreciated very much. Them putting us in that situation. And, now we got to go find somebody, and most people are all scheduled up. And even when you find them, then you got to go pay them. So kind of unwritten rule not to do that, actually.
Does it have to be a game on that date, or does this, I haven't even looked at next year's schedule, but does it open up the idea of maybe having to play a week 0 game or whatever at a neutral site?
Yeah, we're looking into things, but again, it's hard because everybody's got schedules. So there's a lot of dominoes in there. And, we had a Power 4 team scheduled, and them to play. And So I guess team before, when they've had an issue, is, you know, gotten a waiver to get past the SEC rule of a Power 5 team at the time on your schedule. It's not what we want to do, but again, they may have put us in an unavoidable situation not to.
Along those lines, Coach, if you can't get a Power 4 team, at this late a
Yeah, I
date,
find it really amazing that you wait until the week of the game to tell the team. So, I mean, if they thought that that was going to disrupt us, you know, and John Curry was like, oh, we're going to tell them the week of and disrupt them. So maybe that was their game plan for the game.
if you can't, this late a date, cannot get a P4, does Ole Miss get penalized, or what do you do?
Yeah, that's like what I was saying, that what I know is that you'd have to get a waiver to the SEC, you know, to not have a Power 4 team as one of your 4 non-conference. So that's not what we'd like to do. But again, I don't know that we'll have other options.
Any other questions for Coach? All right, thanks, guys. What players in next?
All right, thanks.